Good morning to you all, ladies and gentlemen. I'm delighted to welcome you here and to meet you here to talk about CSR. I should focus on Aéroports de Paris, but I'll try to broaden my topic. What are the objectives of economy? As the small leaflet says very well, which is handed out to you at the entrance, the objectives of positive economics is to provide the deployment of people, self-fulfillment of people, and preservation of space. The preservation of space and the self-fulfillment of people has been in the hands of individuals, then in the hands of states, and now more and more it's up to companies to do that, given the problems encountered by states. A lot was expected from the modern state, appeared in the 18th and 19th century, and the state has defaulted somehow. The state has become a bureaucracy, a kind of mammoth, far away from citizens, and they levy more and more taxes and give less and less satisfaction. And that's the reason why it's up to the entrepreneurs to take care of this CSR. And so we are in a very specific moment. If you look at from the historic background context, Strauss and Ao studied in 1997 in a book called The Fourth Turning Point. They studied 26 generations over 25 years, and they identified some constant factors in the behavior in order to identify at which stage we are in society. We are right in the middle of the crisis. It's not over, and we have to wait for another 10 years. Human beings have an ability to rest on their laurels and to reproduce the same mistakes as before. Fortunately, they also are able to recover, and this is exemplary. So, for 20 years, you have a crisis. The last major crisis dates back to 25 to 29, the Second World War, and a million of deaths. After the crisis, then a generation comes to power, having values of solidarity. People know why they fight. This period is called the top, and in France, it corresponded to the period between 45 and 65, the beginning of the 30 glorious. We created the social security. We want to work more and show solidarity. After this top period, you have a period called awareness. It's Woodstock in the States. It's May 68 in France. After having made efforts to rebuild the country, we tend to rest. Parties, May 68, that's the children of a baby boom. Jean-Pierre Raffarin says it very well. This generation wants to benefit from light. But they benefit from life gently. And from 1965, that's the fifth period. So you had the crisis, the top, the awareness, and now you have the upheaval. Let us say the loss of values, the loss of references, and the possibility to be attracted by the financial bubble and short-termism. And it's between 85 and 2005, we had this internet bubble. Then the inflation of global liquidity, the addition of budget deficits, the bubble of subprimes, and a situation whereby states are bankrupt. And those authors wrote in 1797, don't worry, we're going to experience a major crisis, but everything will be fine in 2025. So our challenge, the challenge we have, whether we are at a state level, local authorities, is to create conditions under which this crisis creates as little as damage as possible. In the past, we had wars. Here, it's a peaceful period. France has not been at war since 73 years. So it's the longest period in history. Until now, we had different battles. But so it's a very long, peaceful period, and we have to keep that, of course. So we are in a moment of crisis, and more the company has to act. Why? Because the links of the territory have been distended, the family links are getting loose, and the company, like school, is a place for sociability, and more expectations rely upon the companies because the state cannot do much. The company has been an actor, a player of the companies were short-termist and greedy. A lot of business leaders suffered from shareholders, short-term shareholders, and then you had stock options, you had and this created short-termism, and you know the perverse effects of this short-termism. What we can say is that each and every one of us has seen the limits of this short-termism, and I was delighted to see that among the principles of positive economics highlighted by Jacques Attali, you have the long-termism concept, and that's I have insisted on that at Caisse des Dépôts. It is necessary to have a long-term approach. So because of the bankruptcy of the state, the limits of short-termism, and each and every one of us recognizes the negative consequences, and the society has made some progress now. So companies must do quite a lot. And the company does not belong to the shareholders only. So this concept disappears progressively. The company belongs to customers, employees, the natural environment, what we call the territory, and the shareholders. It is a collection of men and women creating wealth, and companies have debts vis-a-vis those four stakeholders. Hence, the interest of this CSR debate. We need to create a convergence of interest and alignment between shareholders, employees, customers, and environment. This interest is, of course, to be shared over the long term, because a financial yield of 15% a year cannot be sustained over the long term. I could give you an example of this implementation of CSR with Aéroports de Paris. I'll try to take Aéroports de Paris just as an illustration, because like my predecessor, I do not want to promote ADP. The social policy of ADP was set up by my predecessor, Pierre Graff, chairing this company for 12 years. I've just been there for 1 year. But this is an illustration according to which each year we have over 300 million profits, 7.5 billion market capitalization, 10 times less revenues than the main airline company. However, 4 times bigger market capitalization. So Aéroports de Paris is very important in the territory. That's the equivalent of GDP of Lithuania through Charles de Gaulle and Orly. So the GDP, an indirect and direct GDP of 30 billion euros each year. So Aéroports de Paris is a prosperous company, and somehow this company could have rested on its laurels and neglect its environment. We do not need our environment. The air traffic grows twice as much as the GDP, stores as well, 3 times quicker than the GDP. And we could have said, let's stick to the territory, to our platforms, and let's forget what happens all around. It would be a short-termist approach, a short-termistic approach. Why? Because if our external partners could reject us in doing so, and we would not have the dynamism and the energy of all young people around who could help us work on the platforms, but invent as well and innovate in order to better welcome foreigners, foreign passengers. It's very important to welcome foreign passengers, and it is important for all young people, full of energy, being in the suburbs, not necessarily degrees, but having a temper. So I decided to recruit commercial agents to welcome our passengers, like in a lobby. You know, when you enter into an airport, you feel welcome, you feel taken care of, you reduce your anxiety feeling, and this assignment will be entrusted to men and women not having diploma, but because of their temper, they will come from the school of second chance, as we call it. From this is an initiatives along that line in order to benefit from this energy of young people. Since they were not lucky to have to study, they developed a lot of qualities, and they can give all this positive energy to passengers. So, Aéroport de Paris takes into account this environment, and it is absolutely essential to do so as well because of a nuisance we create. And as such, this is an exemplary company. I was audited by the Assembly, and I said we are kind of predator because we contribute to create a noise each night in order to provide for the 2,500 jobs of FedEx. 170 aircraft take off and land between during the night, and of course it has an impact on the population. So we always have to make a compromise between jobs and the population. So yesterday I was with some authorities in order to try and test to close down a runway for freight for 2 weeks, so that people could predict, the population would know that in the south for 2 weeks they will know that they will have no aircraft. So Aéroport de Paris, I have some slides. I'm going to show them to you. The problem is, can we rest on our laurels, or can we go further and benefit from local communities? If you ask this question, of course, you get the answer, and you will understand that what is illustrated here is that we could just give satisfactory figures and stop there. Our airport generates 8.5% jobs of Île-de-France region. In the last few years, the growth of the airports has been 7 times more. 7 times higher than in the region, and we have between 25 and 40% of the workforce being workers. So we have to go further than that. We have to do better, and that's what my predecessor has developed, and I would like to continue this approach. This CSR policy of Aéroport de Paris is rolled out in all possible directions, and it's a co-construction, co-design with local representatives, elected representatives, and they would like to solve the daily problems. What are those daily problems? First, information. You all know that the first inequality it starts when you are in the with children, if you are looking for the first internship at school. So information on internship and the fact that young pupils have an opportunity to get an internship. We have a house of environment at Orly and Charles de Gaulle. We're going to create a house of jobs at Charles de Gaulle as well to give information on the temporary jobs during the summer. period and fund programs to fight against school dropouts and show the different jobs at the ADP. And with the General Council of Essonne, we work as well. So information. We also have training. We are in areas where 4 young adults in 10 have no training. Those are the figures of the Bouzainville village. And if I take a difficult area, Grand Borde, 16 young in 10. 6 in 10 have not the A degrees. So here we have internship, we have airport training courses, we have the first training program called Aero Compétences and modules, free training modules over 3 months, 6 months, and 9 months. In terms of transportation, you know that Roissy is close to Sarcelles, Villiers-le-Bel. This area, Sarcelles, Villiers-le-Bel, was designed by the 50s by la Caisse des Dépôts, and at that time it was far west. And François Leclerc in the mid-50s bought overnight 250 hectares to build 12,000 dwellings without planning transportation. So when you are at Sarcelles or Villiers-le-Bel, it takes 1 hour and a half or 2 hours to go to Charles de Gaulle, which is only 6 kilometers away. So in terms of transportation, we have a very proactive approach consisting of saying that if we do not take care of this problem, we are cut off from our environment. We created a company, an association called Papa Charlie, putting at the disposal of people a vehicle for everything included, maintenance and so on. It's 100 euros a month, and for 100 euros a month, the person has a vehicle at their disposal. There are 256 recipients, and from the beginning, it allowed for several jobs. And I saw a cleaning lady yesterday at Charles de Gaulle, and she said it was possible for me to find a job here at the airport, Charles de Gaulle, thanks to Papa Charlie. So it's not only because of altruism, it's also a kind of selfish approach. Phileo comprises 8 bus lines, opens 7 days in a row. So people should be able to call a bus to pick them up or to get close to their home because they work often at night. We have a building now of over 200 dwellings at Charles de Gaulle, and we take care of this environment. And we have our own inclusion company called First Stade, and I could elaborate on that. So it's not to advertise on Airport de Paris. That's not the point. But just to show you that a company really very active in the territory, consuming a lot of natural resources because we pollute the air, we create noise, but at the same time we bring about wealth because 1 million passengers is 1,000 jobs and 4,500 indirect jobs. And to show you how much it is important for the company to be well integrated in the environment. If forecasts of air traffic are right, at Charles de Gaulle we could have 130 million passengers, 130 million passengers by 2030. And if my ratio is 1,500 direct jobs per is true, we could have 150,000 direct jobs created by 2030, plus the induced jobs, altogether 500,000 jobs by 2030. So if you want to be able to recruit directly or indirectly 500,000 people and provide for the best service, we need to be listening to our environment very closely. And to conclude, let me say that we all here have the feeling that companies should play their CSR role. And it's not because of that that we should get not interested in the state. And I will conclude because time is up. One of our main concerns should be the following one. The state, local authorities have reached such a size, such a degree of centralization, are like mammoths, and therefore they are no longer able to be responsive and to provide a good service to citizens. Therefore, people turn towards companies. Of course, companies are ready to contribute to this general interest, but we should never forget that a business leader, a head of a company, has a specific interest, and even if he is altruist and he is aware of the fact that the CSR is long-term, is important, but the ultimate body defending the general interest is the state. So we should not take the pretext that CSR is important to do as if the state should no longer be interested in that, and we should despise the state and public authorities. So be careful. We should not neglect the regeneration of the state in that dimension, a long-term vision, and I fully agree with Jacques Attali. The state should find back a long-term vision. Thank you.